So, I am Nehal, as I've already mentioned. I work with the admissions team here at YIF, and I am myself a Young India Fellow, and I graduated from the class of 2020 2021. After that, I worked in the space of feminist leadership, and I recently completed my master's in gender studies from SOAS University of London, and I've been working with the admissions team for over a year now. So, yeah, over to you, Anushka.
Hi, everyone. I'll just echo Nehal's gratitude. Thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning. And I hope you've all had the chance to pick up your coffee or chai or whatever to wake yourselves up. I'm Anushka. I did the Young India Fellowship back in 2013-14, so a dinosaur in context. But I've stayed really closely connected to the YF in the time since. And right now I'm working as a strategic advisor to the program and spending a lot of time with current fellows, future fellows, all of that. I am a strategy consultant. I have about a decade of experience working with nonprofits, philanthropists, impact investors. I started my career with McKinsey and Company, then worked with the Britspan Group, Samagra Development Associates, SRI Executive, which is a boutique consulting firm in Europe. So worked in consulting across education, healthcare, sustainability, environment and climate change, urban sanitation, lots of different sectors. Yeah, that's about me. I did my master's in public policy from the Harvard Kennedy School with the John F. Kennedy Fellowship and the INLAC Scholarship. And I will pass over to Karan now, who was my batchmate both at the Young India Fellowship and then later at Harvard as well. Over to you, Karan.
Thanks, Anushka. Thanks, Nehal. And I'm quite happy to see so many of you. It's sad that only a few of you have put on your cameras. It would be wonderful if more of you could do that. It would just make for a more intimate sort of a conversation. It's also the reason why we are not framing this as a webinar, but as a meeting, so that we can all see each other. And it doesn't feel like I'm speaking to blank screens. But nevertheless, delighted to be here, excited to spend the next hour or so with all of you. Uh, I am not as accomplished as Anushka. I currently work with her, Nehal, and others in leading the Young India Fellowship program. Graduated like Anushka in 2014 before Ashoka started. And for more than a decade, I've actually been working in higher education administration and across various roles, which have to do with new ways of seeing higher education in India. And for a majority of that time, I've been working with Ashoka um, across curriculum, outreach, admissions, program design, etc. Um, yes, like as Anushka said, I was her batchmate at Harvard as well. I was on the Fulbright scholarship to do that, so I got lucky in that way. And here we are. So I'll stop. And Nehal, over to you.
Thank you so much for that, Karan. But before we move ahead and delve into knowing about the fellowship more, I would like to give you a quick, like a few housekeeping rules. One is, of course, please be muted at all times until the conversation is going on. We will have Q&A post that, where we will provide you the space for you to unmute yourself and sort of ask whatever questions that you might have that has not already been answered through the course of the webinar. But during the webinar, should you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. We will try to respond them in the chat or try to weave that into our conversation as we go ahead. So yeah, and again, to reiterate, if we could have more of you up on the screen with your cameras on, that would be great. Now, without further ado, let's quickly delve into the conversation. As Karan mentioned, that it's been over a decade that he's been associated with the space of higher education, and the fact that he's done a large chunk of that with Ashoka, and now he leads the program as the director, I think, which he forgot to mention or something. So Karan, I think it'd be best to hear from the horse's mouth itself as to what the YF is and what's its history been, and what do you think are the key elements of the program?
Okay. Um, the YIF, and some of these will not be my words, these are words I'm importing from people who started it. Um, the YIF is unlike any other program in the world, to the best of our knowledge. It was started in 2011, conceptualized around 2008, when I think most of you might be just about entering school or maybe somewhere in primary school or whatever. It was started because, or say as a response to the absence of any kind of educational experience that puts students at the center. Most of us who've gone through the traditional Indian education system, uh, or even education abroad, a lot of our learning is rote. A lot of choices don't exist. We are expected to decide what we want to do with our lives in class 11th, for starters, when we have to choose our streams. Effectively, we've always been asked to change the world without really knowing what the world is. So the YIF was basically launched to retrospectively solve for that issue, by bringing together a group of extraordinary people who are doing well in whatever they're doing in their academics, in their profession, in their vocation, or whatever, but uh, haven't gotten a broad-based education where they get exposure to multiple disciplines, multiple ways of seeing the world, and then figure out how best they can make a contribution to the world. So the YF started out to solve that problem. The other problem it was trying to start was that there was no university which was focused on multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary education, which has the case for which has now been made, and Ashoka is now in its 11th or 12th year. That's how it sort of started. And Anushka and I were in a makeshift campus. There was this one auditorium right next to IIT Delhi. There was no infrastructure, nothing, but it did not matter because we had extraordinary peers. I had someone like Anushka to look up to, who was my peer. We had faculty who used to come and teach us, and these were faculty, and they still are those faculty whose books we read in college or whatever. These are the people who teach us, right? So the idea really was that why don't we bring together extraordinary people, put them in a classroom? In a way, it doesn't matter what they are studying, but it matters who they are studying from, because they will be inspired in ways which we have previously not imagined, and they will be inspired consistently for a year. And in being inspired to see the world in different ways, you end up discovering parts of yourself that you had sort of either left behind or were lying dormant or whatever. And as you do this, you discover how important it is to ask the right questions. It is important to serve your curiosity, which has often been dampened, uh, in large part due to the social fabric that exists around us. So yeah, that's what it was. And today, as we enter our 15th year, and I'm speaking to people who might be selected to join the 16th cohort, today we have reframed the fellowship, and we are, while the core DNA remains the same, we have reframed it in a way where we want to nurture and educate uh, diverse people through a year of multidimensional and interdisciplinary learning to ultimately create a better world. So it's not just exposure to multiple disciplines, it's also exposure to issues which which are to be seen through the lenses of multiple disciplines. So it's also ways of seeing the world through a discipline, but also looking at issues in an interdisciplinary manner. And as you do that, you gain more grounding. You're doing this in the company of 99 other well-read, high-achieving, and humble peers. Uh, that's broadly what it is. There are four key elements of the curriculum, uh, the biggest chunk of which is the core and elective coursework. So about 18 odd courses you will study through the year. It's a very, very packed year. It's an intense year, and a very rigorous year, not for the faint-hearted. You study coursework. Along with that, you also, for half of the year, you partake in a project in a group, typically with a set of peers, with a partner organization, or try to develop your own idea. There's space for that as well. There is also a very deep focus on developing critical thinking and expression skills, primarily through writing, but also other creative forms of expression. There is also a deliberate focus on synthesis. How do you really connect the dots across disciplines and issues? And it's a new curricular element that we've started out this year, and your cohort will also have that. Uh, and finally, there is holistic learning and engagement, which is which has to do with developing the skills and frameworks, which may not be necessarily academic in nature, but are important tools that you need as you navigate the program and I think life in general. Um, yeah, but by the end of all of this, I would like to argue that any fellow can be sort of groomed in the form of education for life. It's not aimed at any particular job, at any particular post post YF pathway. Also, pathways are multiple, and we'll get to that a bit later. But in a world, and we all sort of know the world today, right? Like AI, for example, is very central to how we are looking at the world, and people are worried and whatnot. People are also excited and whatnot. In a very complex and volatile world, skills of empathy, interdisciplinary thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, and communication. These are things that will do anyone good, regardless of whatever vocation one chooses. And these are precisely the skills that we aim to impart in the fellows through the 1 year program. I Anushka, if you'd like to add anything to that, otherwise, I think this seems like a decent enough. I don't want to keep blabbering, so yeah.
I think Karan has sort of given an overview to what I mean, I can at least fathom now that I look back into my journey, and a highly, highly expansive program, and we will delve into the other elements of it more. But Anushka, at this point of time, I would really like to call upon you and sort of ask you, like, what is it that sets the YF apart from any other postgraduate program, right? Because I came out of it straight out of my undergrad, and I there were a bunch of options in my hand, right? So if someone were to come and ask you this question, how would you respond to that?
Um, so great question. I think Karan's touched upon a lot of it already. Um, Obviously, we're in this webinar and we're leading it, so we're going to tell you there's nothing like YF. But I really do feel like when I've looked around, there hasn't been. And the reasons that are top of mind for me are like one, just the curriculum, right? Like every other program you pick, it tends to specialize around something, be it around business essentials or like policy essentials or economics or a particular subject, right? Which is helpful, but I think YF is one where if I look back and think of what does it mean to be educated versus trained, like YF really gives you that exposure to so many different elements that make up life, right? You have art and you have Shakespeare, you also have business and you also have AI. But just having all of it together in one curriculum is really, really special. The idea is not that you will become an expert at everything. The idea is that you will go through a roller coaster where there'll be subjects where you really get it, you know it because you've done it before and you can help others. There'll be subjects where you are struggling. You're like, I do not understand this. And how do you cope then? How do you lean on others for support? And then there'll be subjects where that you just fall in love with. You didn't know that this existed before, and now you've been exposed to it, and it'll stay a part of your life in some way or the other. So YF is really special that way because when I look back at it in my year, I had done economics. I held economics masters offers from Oxbridge, Yale, and all. And I didn't take those then. I was just like, for 1 year, I just want to study without thinking about marks or thinking about, I don't know, achieving anything. I just want to study to learn everything that I don't know. And that was what YF was for me. And I think there are things that I learned or picked up then that maybe came back to me like 5 years later. I really truly understood them later when I was working or dealt with a particular situation. So I feel like it sows a lot of seeds. Some of them sprout immediately, some of them you'll be kind of having realizations 5 to 10 years later as well. So it's a very special curriculum. So, one, curriculum and the professors. Second is just the cohort and the community. I have leaned on them throughout my life at multiple points. I have found my best friends there, but I've also found like a broader network of people who keep coming in and out of my life. Like I can lean on them for jobs, for like just when I'm new in a city and I want someone to hang out with. They've just been there for me through it all. And I think what sets YF apart is we tinkered with this a lot, but we've landed that 100 is the right number for YF because it gives you that spirit of bondedness and fellowship that is not possible in like a larger batch. So I think just to explicitly state YF is going to take 100 people this year, And that is because we want all of you to know your batchmates really, really well. So that even like 10 years later, when you call someone up, and I have done this last week before that, they pick up, right? And they know you and they're always there for you. So the community is the second part. And then I think the third thing that sets YF apart, right? I mean, there are excellent educational programs in the country, and you would have studied at a lot of them. You might study at a lot of them later as well. But I think for me, what YF kind of gave me a kind of courage, right? Like if I'd gone to LSR and Harvard, which I did, right? Like I think I might still have gotten like a really fancy job or like a really fancy higher ed. But I think that kind of courage to like just stick your limb out and do your own thing, like really forge your own path and don't just kind of do something because society tells you it's aspirational. Like that came from YF, very strongly came from YF. So which means that like at some point in life, you have the ability to really ask what you want to do for yourself and what gives you joy, whether that's becoming a partner in a consulting firm, whether that means staying in the mountains and being close to nature, whether that means creating your own startup, whether that means working closely with communities. You have the courage to ask yourself what you want to do, and then you have a community that will help you do it. So yeah, those are the three things: curriculum, community, and then like courage. I did not mean for all of them to start with C's, but it happened. So there you go.
Amazing. I think now we can take a segue into another C, which is also a very important element and which we've been talking about, which is the curriculum of the YIF. Anushka, you mentioned that a little bit. Karan, you also touched upon it. But if you could, Karan, if you could elaborate a little bit more, right? We've been talking about these great faculty members, this exciting curriculum at the YIF, but what exactly are these courses that we're talking about?
Sure. Are we also bringing up some slides for people to have a visual?
Uh, yeah, let me pull up.
Okay. Okay. Uh, so this is how the year is structured basically, and I'll tell you the structure and then I'll tell you about coursework. Uh, the year is divided into 8 terms. In college or in any other educational program, you'll typically have 2 semesters, right? One being the second half of the first year and the other being the first half of the next year, like fall or monsoon semester and then spring semester. The YF has those semesters, but it also has a winter semester and a summer semester. But our terminology is different. So there are 8 terms of roughly 6 weeks each. And every 6 weeks, you're doing roughly on average 2 courses, core or elective. You're doing writing and critical thinking, and you're doing either projects with external organizations or you're doing some other boot camps or workshops which fall under the learning and engagement module. And through all these courses, which take up about 60 to 70% of your in and out of class time during the year, uh, you are engaging with them in multiple ways. Or there are hardly any classes where the faculty will just be lecturing. While those exist, there are seminar style, there are discussion based classes, etc. But the ways in which you engage are very varied. Uh, you will have simulations in some classes. You'll have case study based learning in some. For some courses, you will go on field visits. Most courses also require you to work in groups. So just to start giving you examples also, for a course on Shakespeare and the World, which is a literature based course, people are all required, at least this year, people have been required to make films where they reimagine one of Shakespeare's plays with some additional prompts. So everyone made films in groups. For a course on women's society and changing India, which is taught by Urvashi Butalia, the very noted feminist publisher, uh, people did art exhibitions, people created installations, people did skits, people created zines, people wrote, created like a magazine. Uh, so I'm just trying to paint a picture that for different courses, uh, you will end up engaging in ways which you may have wanted to always, but the curricular framework of all your education so far did not allow that to happen, unless you were, say, in a visual communication course where you're supposed to be creative. So even in an academic setting here, you can be very creative and vice versa, right? People also write research papers, policy reports, and so on. What you see on the screen are this year's core courses. Most of these are this year's core courses. These range from history to statistics to leadership to sociology, anthropology, gender studies, filmmaking, organizational behavior, and so on. And as you would see, most of these courses are discipline driven, right? Some of these are issue driven, like New Geography of the Information Age will cover everything from AI to blockchain to cybersecurity to misinformation to propaganda to social media and so on. So that's issue based. Even foreign policy is in a sense issue based because it draws from international relations, it draws from public policy, it draws from history, it draws from many other disciplines. But most are discipline driven. And when you're done with your core coursework, which is mostly in the first half of the end of it results in you having exposure to multiple disciplinary ways of thinking, whether it's approaches or methods, right? The second half of the year, which is majorly elective coursework, you will find most courses being issue driven, right? When we talk about interdisciplinary learning, interdisciplinary in some sense implies the synthesis of multiple disciplines to look at issues, whether it's literacy in the age of AI, whether it's to look at political economy, whether it's to look at sustainable development, whether communication, uh, and so on and so forth, or the welfare state for that matter, right? So these are some courses that have been on offer last year. Most of these will be on offer this year and hopefully in your year as well. But every year, our aim, in trying to remain topical and relevant, we try to bring in at least 3 to 5 new courses every year, which means that 3 to 5 courses from a current year won't exist in the next year. Um, yeah, so that's how we do it. But what's very exciting is that the people who come and teach these courses are people who are at the top of their field, right? When you're doing an astrophysics course, you're taught by the vice chancellor and by Professor Dipankar Bhattacharya. And if you Google them, you will know that these are two of the most noted astrophysicists in the country and perhaps in the world, right? When you're studying about trade, trust, and peace in South Asia, you're going to be talking with someone who has been a lead economist at the World Bank, right? And so on. Uh, yeah, so I think I hope this uh, rough sketch is enough for you to have a picture of what are the kinds of courses you'll be taking. Some technicalities would be that every course is roughly 20 to 25 hours of in-class teaching. But with additional sessions, etc., it goes up to about 30 hours. Each course also carries 2 credits. And you would do roughly 18 courses in the entire academic year. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Karan. But also like we've been talking about the different pillars, right? So one of the other pillars that we also spoke about was the ELM project, which according to me was like personally for me was also one of the highlights of my journey as well, right? Like my ELM project. Yeah, and it sort of helped me decide that I wanted to work at the intersection of education and gender, and the project was literally called Educate Girls. Yeah. But in addition to that, also mentorship, right? And peer learning. All of this form very essential elements of what makes for YIF the experience that it is. And I think all of us were here, Anushka, me, Karan can sort of echo that feeling, right? But Anushka, if you could specifically share about these aspects within the YIF larger curriculum and experience. And also, if you could talk about that in the context of your journey as well, right? Like that would give them a bit more personal insight into what we mean when we keep talking about that, wherever you go, you find a YF community. You're looking for a flat, you find somebody on the YF group, right? You're in London, you're in any part of the world, you will find a fellow, right? When we keep saying all of these things, there is a lot of material reality to it, right? So if you could shed some light to that based on your own experience, that'll be amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, Nehal. So everyone, quick recap. The four pillars or elements of IF academics, we've talked a lot about that. Second is critical CIE. Um, critical insights and expression. I hope I've gotten the acronym right. This is basically like a small group module where in groups of 25, you will basically have a home throughout the year. Because you have so many courses, this really stays your constant throughout the year. And in smaller batches, you will just be thinking of synthesizing insights, how to write well in the age of AI, right? What is it to really express yourself authentically and originally? So that's the second pillar. The third pillar, ELM. ELM is experiential learning, right? It's an experiential learning module. This happens in the latter half of the year, and it's project-based learning. So you'll be working in a group for a particular project. Now, slides apart, what this means is we bring to you a list of projects that you can do, but you can also propose your own, right? And in Nehal's case, she did something that gave her the confidence to say that, okay, this is something I want to do in my career, right? So that's basically what ELM is meant for, is that A, you can test your hypothesis around what it is that you want to do in your career. And second, you pick up some core skills, right? Project management, professionalism, what is it, like analysis, group work, all of that. In Nehal's case, she learned what she wanted to do. In my case, I learned ki I do not want to do this. So my hypothesis in life was that I'm going to become a development economist. I'm going to do my PhD in economics and write like amazing papers. So what I did in my year is me and a bunch of friends, we wrote to a bunch of development economists across the world. Ki like, we'd love to work for you. We'd love to learn as part of this ELM. And we heard back from someone. We had a great time learning what they did. I learned a lot in that period, but I think I also realized that this is not for me. The day-to-day reality of working in development economics or being an academic is just not for me. I don't have that much patience. I don't love data that much. I just want to work on something that's a lot faster paced. And that really saved me a lot of time, because otherwise I'd have gone and done my master's in economics and spent a ton of money and realized later ki ye to nahi ho payega. So I pivoted to consulting, and I have loved it because I get to work across sectors. I get more immediate like feedback when I work on implementation. So I like the ELM helped me realize what I don't want to do, which is also a great outcome. So that's about the ELM. There's also mentorship, peer learning, guest sessions, right? So throughout the year, you'll be exposed to a bunch of people in many different domains. You'll get to speak to leaders in their field. You'll get to understand, okay, what does it actually mean to be in a particular career? What does your day-to-day look like? How do you actually get there? And all of that is such a valuable aspect of YF as well. So these are the pillars. Just talking about how YF helped me in my journey. So we can stop projecting the slides, Ria. So I think very candidly kind of sharing like at every step, right? So I graduated in 2014, more than 10 years ago. My first job was campus placement through YF. So this was McKinsey and Company. I do want to state on the record, I applied to McKinsey from LSR and got rejected because I was terrible. Okay, like I didn't know how to put together a really good CV. I thought case studies meant मैंने पढ़ लिए हैं case in point, so I know what it means. All of that is not true. There's a lot of work that's required to actually get good at casework, to put together a good CV. So I feel like I got a lot of that kind of insight and coaching at YF, which helped me crack that first job. Then in my second job, I spent 2 years at McKinsey, realized great learnings, but I really don't want to work in something that doesn't have social impact at the heart. So I wanted something more like kind of aligned to what I want to do. And my second job was Samagra Development Associates, which I found through like, I think I found it through the alumni kind of emails, right? Like we have job boards, jobs that keep circulating. Now we have an Ashoka development sector WhatsApp group that keeps sending jobs. So I found out about it through YF. Then when I was applying to Harvard, I reached out to YF alum. They really went through my CVs, gave great feedback, life-changing stuff. So they were really helpful in even helping me apply for grad school. And then once I got to Boston, I was homesick as hell. And I had YF folks there across batches. There was a Boston City chapter that kind of made me feel at home. We would have Ashish Dhawan, like if he was in Boston, would like sometimes take us out for a meal, and Vineet as well. If Pramath would come, he'd meet us. So it meant a lot to have that community when you're kind of in another country. And then in the time since then, right? Like I found my own jobs. I didn't need YF for that, but like every time I went to different parts of the world, last year I had to go to Dublin for work and London and lots of different places, and I feel like I always had a YF friend there who would like take me for a meal or show me around the city or give me like a place to crash at. So that has very much been the constant. So yeah, I think like the community's been there for like me in multiple ways, be it like job support, higher ed support, just being friends, hanging out, um, being home away from home. So that has been like just a big part of the journey for me. Back to you, Nehal.
Yes, amazing. Thank you so much for that, Anushka. And I cannot sort of agree with you anymore in this because one of my closest friends was actually a YF alum herself. Back in London, we were doing the same course and all of it. And like, oh, you're a fellow. Oh, I'm a fellow too. So this iteration that you find a fellow everywhere is kind of true in that sense. But yeah, so we have been talking a bit about, the career trajectories and the sort of pathways or the different avenues that sort of open up um, to the fellows once they've done the fellowship and also during the fellowship as well, right? So, Karan, if you could talk a little bit about the kind of future pathways and the kind of support that we offer at YF to the fellows as well in terms of choosing their post YF or like the future pathway.
Sure. It's actually a very difficult question to answer for a couple of reasons. One is that the YF is not like this is the goal is not to get you a job or to get you an admit into a higher ed institution. It's a happy outcome of being part of this environment. Our core goal is to for you all to come in and engage with your whole heart, engage sincerely with the curriculum, with your peers, etc. But by virtue of doing that, you are able to understand and discover so many new kinds of opportunities and ways of engaging with the world professionally or academically. So, in that context, pathways are very varied. And pathways are also, like, in addition to being varied, like, it's a place where people also end up switching their pathways precisely because you get exposure to so much and you feel that there is a better way for me to contribute to the world than what I've been doing so far. So, having said that, in academia, in government, in the corporate world, in the development sector, uh, and I mean, pretty much any field conceivable, we do have alumni. And because we do have alumni there, and in a strange way, uh, most journeys, I would say, are covered by our 2400 strong alumni community. Uh, we have a way where fellows get supported through the formal channels in the university. There is a career advancement office which works on campus placements, which works on helping you with higher ed studies and preparing your applications. Plus, we have an alumni community, and there are also very many informal mechanisms. You just type out on LinkedIn that, okay, I'm interested in these companies. You search, you do some searching online, and you end up finding that, okay, there are these alumni who are there. We help you make connections, and alumni typically respond to fellows also. Most of them do. Uh, so through a combination of formal support structures and the informal network that we have, people are supported in different ways. Uh, some people also choose to not take any of that support because they have their stuff figured out, which is absolutely fine. But like, to give you two examples of the formal structures, like in the career advancement office, they have a career preparatory program. When organizations come to campus, uh, they come in around October. They start in October and they are coming in till about April, May of the academic year. So there is a 2.5 month career prep program that runs in parallel to the core and elective curriculum of the YIF, when it comes to resume shaping or preparing for interviews or for case studies and things like that. That's one segment. The other is also just to have one-on-one conversations with the fellows for the institution to understand what are the interests that you have, knowing fully well that 6 months down the line in the fellowship, your interests could change 360 degrees, right? So they get a broad sense of your interests, and there are maybe 200 or 250 odd companies that do come in the for-profit and in the not-for-profit sectors to recruit from campus. But then there are also companies which may not be coming to campus, but within our networks, through the trustees, through the senior leadership, through the alumni, there are organizations. We also help you make connections there. And if there are people with very unique profiles that may not be applicable for, say, campus placements, there is also a track where there is one-on-one guidance and customized, tailored support that the careers office provides. Similarly, for higher education applications, many people, while they're in the YIF, I would imagine about 30 to 40%, if not more or less, they do make applications abroad, and most of them end up being successful typically. Uh, so there, the careers office also, they also engage with different alums. We also engage with different universities in across the world for information sessions, for letters of recommendation. Also, faculty and senior members also write recommendation letters for the fellows. Also, when it comes to essays, which are the most critical part of your application when you're applying abroad, panels of staff members and alumni also come together to support you. These are things that Nehal, Anushka, and I all are beneficiaries of, especially when it comes to higher ed stuff. But we were beneficiaries at a time where all of this was very informal, which also worked perfectly fine. But now, given that so much informal help has been given, we've found a way to sort of organize that so that there is systematic support for people. Broadly, this is that, but uh, yeah, I mean, and if there are any specific questions that come up in the Q&A time, we are happy to take that. But broadly, this is the kind of support. There is also, like, many fellows also feel a bit iffy about spending just 1 year and want to find a way to spend more time at Ashoka. So whether it's being a teaching fellow or teaching assistant to a faculty, working with them on a research project, or exploring any opportunities that might be there at the 20 odd interdisciplinary research centers that Ashoka has, those also keep opening up from time to time. Uh, so yeah, I think I'll stop there.
Yeah, I'll just do a plus one here and say that, like, one of the things that's been wonderful about YF is how diverse it is. And that's very much by design, right? We want to bring in people who have a good hypothesis about what they want to do, that they want to go into a particular field or solve a particular problem or excel in a particular thing, right? So it's not at odds with you wanting to specialize later if that's what you want. But I do think that I've worked with leaders across multiple nonprofits, right? And I've seen that, like, even at a particular stage when you're working in leadership, your specialization helps you, but there are these core skills, right? How do you work with people? Do you know, like, people management? Do you kind of understand how to strengthen your organization? Do you know how to motivate folks? All of these, like, smaller, softer skills, or that are outside of a particular technical area, really come into play. And I think, like, YF teaches you that. Once YF teaches you that, you can, like, go off and do whatever it is that you want. And I've seen that with my own batch, right? The world starts seeming smaller because whichever industry you're talking about, I would know someone there because, like, a batchmate is there. Last month, I was doing a project which was looking at the entrepreneur landscape in a particular Indian state, and I know nothing about finance. Like, I know nothing about sort of that particular state. I didn't really know much about private investment in that state, but I knew exactly who to call. I called up two of my batchmates. They picked up. They gave me a wonderful primer, and then, like, I was better able to sort of work on the problem that I was solving, right? So I think that that's really special about YF is that people will all go and do 100 different things. It's not like a sheep wala thing, right? Like, 100 of you come in and then 50 of you get picked up and, like, follow the same path. 100 fellows will go off in 100 different directions, and that's something we do want to maintain, and that's what makes YF very cool, in my opinion.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Anushka. Just keeping in mind the time, I will quickly run everyone through the application process, give you a broad overview of what the process looks like. Like, we've been talking about this program so much, right? But what does it take to get into this program, right? So the admissions process is fairly simple. So the first round is, of course, the application form. The applications for the class of 2026 and 2027 is already open, and we have an early deadline which is coming, which is the 8th of December. What does an early deadline mean? An early deadline is basically the sooner you apply, the sooner you hear about your application status, right? Which is if your application has been shortlisted or has not been shortlisted for the next round, which is the YF interview round. But the round one deadlines, as it is shown up on the screen, is January 19th, right? And the final round of application closes on March 23, right? So the YF application sort of runs in two rounds, round one and round two, but we highly encourage people to apply in round one. Not that you have a relative disadvantage if you apply in round two, but if you want to hear about your application status sooner and if you want to sort of get into knowing the other aspects of the program better, we really encourage people to apply sooner. So that is about the timeline. In terms of the process, the first is, of course, filling out the application form. And if your application is shortlisted, we then call you for a personal interview where you have a panel for about 2 to 3 people who sort of interview you and sort of ask you questions in and around your profile and your application, of course. And then the top candidates from the pool of the personal interview are then invited for another round of interview for the Chancellor's Merit Scholarship. So each year, the number of the recipients of the CMS scholarship sort of varies, and the CMS scholars are from both round one and round two as well, right? So if you are a top candidate and a top performing candidate in a personal interview, and also your application is amazing and well put, we then call you for the CMS interview, and then you're given the final decision, which is to say that if you have gotten an offer for the YF or not. Just a disclaimer here that just because you've been called for a CMS interview does not mean that you make it to the class already, right? It can very well be that you're called for a CMS interview, but you still do not make it to the class of the YF as well, right? So the final decision on if you make it to the class plus if you get a CMS or not is given at the final decision stage, right? And if you're either given an offer, you could be waitlisted or you could be rejected, right? So these are the three decisions that you'll likely hear after the personal interview round. And finally, if you're given an offer, then you are into, and then you become a part of this larger YF community that we've been talking about, right? So this is what the process looks like. And Ria, if you could quickly move on to the next slide so that yeah, and this is what the timeline is. The slide before this. Yeah, and this is what the timeline looks like. Yeah, and in case you have any questions or do you find like any sort of difficulties in the process of filling out your applications, you can always reach out to the admissions team. We're sort of more than happy to answer your queries. We're available on email, and a lot of this information is also available on our website as well, right? So this is the quick overview of what the application process looks like. Anushka, I would also like to sort of quickly like to rope you in here and ask you, since you've also been involved in the process very closely, both as an interviewer and now also, sort of advising us on how to work around admissions better, how to make it more robust, inclusive, and all of that. What do you think really makes for like a great applicant or a great YF candidate?
Um, so I think like for me, the biggest thing is you love learning and you're curious, right? I do want to emphasize YF is really exceptional, but it is an academic program. So if you're someone like who doesn't like being in classrooms or doesn't like studying, this is not the program for you. Conversely, if you like me are just really, really happy learning different things, even if you're terrible at them, this is absolutely the right program. Like you'll be exposed to so many wonderful subjects, such fantastic faculty, amazing peer learning cohort. So you have to love learning, right? Which means you should be able to demonstrate as well that in your life, like you keep learning or engaging in some way or the other, right? It doesn't have to be through books, it could be through podcasts, it could be through movies, but that you're actually learning from different mediums. You can connect the dots um, across like different sectors, different themes, and come up with original insights. So that is really one. The second one is you should have a lot of drive, right? It's drive to do something, solve a particular problem, like go on and do something in the world. It could be in any sector, as we said, right? Like we are completely agnostic what it is that you want to do in life, but you should have some hypothesis, right? What is it that you want to do in your life? What problems do you really care about that you want to solve? What gives you a lot of energy and kind of like lights a spark in you? And you should have demonstrated some kind of some initiative, right? Like be it through extracurriculars, community service, leadership positions, whatever it is, something that demonstrates your drive. And third, we do really want people who are able to collaborate with others, right? Like being a lone wolf actually only gets you so far. Every problem worth solving in the world, you need to collaborate with others to do it, right? And you will be working very closely with your exceptional cohort of 100 throughout the year. So you should be collaborative. You should be, like there should be an element of like humility, social consciousness, just knowing that none of us have all the answers and there's a lot we need to learn from others. So these are, I think, key elements for me, but I'd also invite Karan to add what makes an amazing fellow for him. I
Okay, I think Karan's screen is
Yeah.
frozen. I think there's some internet lag. Okay, all right. So I think while we wait for Karan to come back, maybe meanwhile we could talk a little bit about what the application looks like, and also the fact that a lot of people are really confused because YIF application in itself is a pretty long application, but it is also a very reflective application, right? Like you have about 4 essays, which includes a video essay as well. This time, this is a new element that we've introduced. The video element, however, is not mandatory, but it is a highly recommended element, right? Which means that we would love to understand you better and sort of the way you put across an idea and stuff like that on a screen as well, right? Through your communication. So that is the intent of the video essay as well. Apart from that, there are 3 other essays as well, which tests for different skills or like different sort of markers that we're looking for in a VIA fellow. Some of which Anushka mentioned, right? Like leadership, the zeal to learn, curiosity, humility, collaborativeness, problem solving, interdisciplinary thinking, right? So the essays sort of are the questions in the essays are sort of constructed in a way that tries to assess you based on some of these qualities, right? Now, in the age of AI, I know it is very easy for you to go up on the internet, put up the prompts, and pull out an essay and simply copy paste it. But honestly, that will not really get you very far. We have also now gotten used to and been able to identify which is an AI generated essay, right? And essays which are AI generated sort of leads to a complete sort of rejection of the profile there, right? So while we are not completely sort of anti-AI and we're okay with people sort of using AI, but in a way which doesn't mean that it takes away from the authenticity of the essay, right? And takes away from your own reflective element that you can bring to the essay, right? So it is very important that you use AI just as a tool to aid your essay and not completely use it to construct the essay itself. So think about these essays, reflect on it. For me and for a lot of people, writing the YF essays themselves have been a very, very reflective and transformational process, right? Because it requires you to sit down and think about some of these questions which you haven't or which you don't otherwise think, right? Like, for instance, what's your leadership journey been like? Or, how do you approach a problem, or even how do you think about your long term short term career goals? These are not things that we think about on an everyday basis, right? So we would really encourage you to sit with these questions, think about them deeply, and then answer and engage with these prompts, right? Again, the YF admissions process is extremely inclusive, and we read all applications in context, which is to say that we do not evaluate people so much on grammar and punctuations and stuff like that, but more so on the content that you put out. We want to know you better and not so much about your skill sets in and around your language skills, right? So that is just a bit of a primer around the YIF applications and how to approach your essays. Anushka, would you like to quickly add something?
Yes, I think I just want to address two more quick things before we move on to Q&A full time. One, finances. A lot of you asked about it, right? Like, what is the cost of the program? What is the financial aid that's available? So Ria, can you put up the relevant slide if possible? So one thing is like every fellow gets scholarships, right? All of you will be getting a scholarship. When you make the application, when you hear back on your offer status, that will include a minimum amount of scholarship, at least 25%, right? For some of you, depending on sort of if you make it to the Chancellor Scholarship, that scholarship can go up to 100%. There is also a separate need-based scholarship, right? Which has a separate form where you will have to talk about, say, for example, income, assets, and so on. Based on that, you might also qualify for need-based funding, right? So there are lots of avenues for financial support here. So I would encourage all of you not to let that be a deterrent to applying. Definitely apply. Everyone does get some amount of scholarship or the other. Please also fill in the need-based application if you feel like that's something you need. Um, and yeah, there are, I think it's a big priority for us to make YIF accessible to people from multiple different backgrounds. And that has very much been a driving factor of YIF from the start as well. So when we talk about a class composition, do you want to talk, Ria, can we move to the class composition slide if possible? You'll see that when we talk about diversity, we really kind of do mean it, right? Like we have people from 25 different states, 67 cities. In India, there is no age limit, so you have people across the spectrum, right? In age as well. 25%, roughly a quarter of the class are freshers, but we really do want people with work ex. We have a lot of people who do their masters and then come as well, right? So people at different stages of their careers. 35% of the cohort is first generation college goers. So as I said, right, like we really, so much of the fellowship is based on the cohort because you keep learning from each other 24/7, right? Your classroom time is one thing, but it's a residential program. You live and work together, eat together, just study together. So the cohort is incredibly diverse. So whatever background you're from, whatever your financial needs are, like please do still apply and fill in the relevant applications. So hopefully that answers your question about finances. What was the other one?
Do people get additional stipend? Is that the question?
Um, uh, there is currently not a provision for stipends unless there's like severe financial need. But Karan, do you want to add more?
Yeah. A quarter of the current batch, roughly 25%, they do receive stipends, but this is based on need, financial need. 6 out of 10 people pay no tuition fee. And hopefully, the batch that you're applying for, there will be even more scholarships. At this moment, you shouldn't worry about that. Either through the Chancellor's scholarship or through need-based scholarship, there is an opportunity to be fully funded. A majority of the people in the next cohort will not be paying tuition. A majority of them, and currently also it's a majority, and we're hopeful that a lot more will be able to get that. Um we don't disclose acceptance rate and all of these things, but it's single digit. And I don't think any of you should think about or worry about acceptance rate, applications, this and that, because you have the problem at your hand is to fill the best application that you can fill. That is all that you control, and that is all you should worry about. Nothing else is important. But yes, it is very, very selective. But precisely because it is very selective, you should put in your best effort to make a compelling application. Facts are facts that apply to you. How you frame things and how you build your narrative is again in your control. So that's the thing to focus on. And this to the some internet troubles for me, and I dropped off. Anushka and Nehal were talking about how we review applications, context specific. We are not going to compare one applicant to another. We will look at each application will be seen in its own context. What are the resources? What are the privileges? What is the level of access that a person has had in their life? With those resources and means, what have they been able to do with it? That fundamental question allows us to build the kind of cohort that you saw a glimpse of through the class composition slide. Yeah. There is a video submission this time. While it is not mandatory, it is strongly recommended. You can take 1 minute to answer one of 3 prompts, and ideally don't read out from like a teleprompter or equivalent. We just want to see you in a different way. That's all. And Nehal can
Open it
answer
up
that.
to Q&A.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll open the floor for Q&As. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to sort of raise your hand and ask them. You could just go ahead and even unmute yourself. So yeah, do we have any questions?
I also want to say, like, I hope all of you have the brochure. If you don't, like, Anuja just send the registration link for which
Yes,
you'll have the
sure.
brochure, which you can also download it from our website, which kind of has all the slides that we were showing you and all the content. Do not ask the application deadline again. We showed it. It's on the website as well. Please go have a look there.
Yeah.
And yeah, over to taking some live questions.
Yes. Um, I think a lot of you have also, I can take a few logistical questions, which is around accommodation. So, a lot of the questions that you're asking us, honestly, they're out there on the website. So, we would highly recommend that you go to the YIF website and read about the program more to understand some of these logistical questions that you might have. But yes, it is a fully residential program. So, you have an in-campus residence, sorry, an in-campus accommodation. So, you are required to stay on campus throughout the duration of the program. So, yeah, that's about accommodation. Yes, people who have been rejected in the past, they can reapply. However, there is a question in the application that requires you to answer if you have applied in the past. So make sure that you answer that question and also help us understand how you think your application has evolved since the last time that you applied as well. Deadlines, again, as Anushka mentioned, it's up there, but yeah, the priority deadline is less than a month away, which is 8th of December, and the round one deadline is the 19th of January. Um,
Should we just take a few live
yes,
questions as
let's
well?
take a few
After
live
that,
questions.
take a
Yeah.
bit as well. And then we'll address all the ones on chat, of course, before we leave.
So first, Jyoti. Yeah, Jyoti, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Uh, yeah, I'm so sorry about the background noise. Thank you so much for doing this. It was lovely session. I got to learn a lot, which I could not figure out because I was lazy. I could not go through the website. So thank you so much. My question is on the
Eximbudium Vietnamનું કેમ lock છે 2022
sorry.
સાલ?
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Jyoti.
Yeah. So my question was on the video prompt. So there are 3 prompts, and we have to make a video. You said right now of 1 minute. So I was just asking, can we edit it, or it will be just the generic video 1 minute with no edits, or can we edit it? Just to be creative, just asking. Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll let Nehal tackle
Yeah.
that one.
So, if I'm understanding your question right, Jyoti, can you sort of use different creative mediums within the video? For sure, go ahead. Like
Okay.
if you would want to like speak and also add pictures and do some other fun things, like be as creative as you want to be in the video. By edit it, if you also meant that, so it is, so you are first expected to record the video and then upload it. So it is not something which you need to do live during the application, right? So you just need to record it in your own time and space and then upload it. So of course, like you can take as many retakes and edits and whatever, and be confident and then sort of upload that video. Does that help you answer the question?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Arshad, you're up next.
Okay, thank you, first of all. Actually, my question is related to the essay. So there are 3 essays which are mandatory and one is optional. So the thing is, my English is not that good. This is what I feel about my English. And I try to write it completely on my own for the very first, and I felt that whatever is in my mind and what is on paper are not matching. Like there was a huge gap is in what I was feeling and what I was writing. So as you mentioned that answers must not be AI generated, but I can use it as a tool. So I did use it as a tool to like uh, take feedback and everything. And this is what happened actually when I like checked the responses, the like fully polished essay on some AI checkers. What I got is uh, like I followed the same process for all the essays, but one or two of them are like marking 60% AI generated, although they are not, and two of them are like 0% AI generated. It's completely human written. So this is the problem I am facing in the application process, and I if you can like just help me on that, and thank you so much.
Mm, yeah. Anushka, would you like to take that or should I go?
Yeah,
Anushka,
I
can
think firstly, I would say that like if you're worried about grammar in English, it's totally fine to use things like Grammarly, right? Like or the spell check in Word and all, which can help refine the grammar. The challenge with AI is right, like it somehow blunts what makes your writing unique. So it often removes a lot of that edge, and like everything starts coming out as very generic, and your essay will then be very similar to like thousands of other essays, which kind of puts you at a disadvantage. So which this is going to be my recommendation is like um don't like kind of use AI to rewrite your essay. For like English and spell check, like something like Grammarly probably works better. That said, if you want to use like AI to refine your essay and so on, the idea for us is not to play like psych, okay, we caught you, right? Like we're going to evaluate you on the end result. And if AI makes the essay kind of lose its individuality, its creativity, or like just generate things that aren't true, that'll be a disadvantage that will come out sooner or later, right? In the interviews as well. So again, I would just say try to avoid AI use. And if you do you use it, like use it in a very minimal way. I think that's all we'll say about it right now.
Yeah. And also the fact that you mentioned, yes, different AI checkers shows different percentage, and we do realize that there can be discrepancies and variability in that as well. So, yeah, I mean, I do understand your concern and where you're coming from, but as an admissions team, and this is something that I think Karan has also been reiterating over the years, is that we always read an application not from the point of view to reject that application. In fact, our first hunch is that we want to take that person in, right? All we're looking for is that, they're able to sort of bring their most authentic self out and meet the kind of markers that we're looking for that'll make them an amazing addition in a class of 100, right? So, yeah.
Should we
Reno,
take a bunch of questions together and then we can answer them just in the
yes.
spirit of time? Because there are also a bunch of unanswered ones on chat. So we'll go in speed mode and answer all of them together.
Amazing. All right. So, Reno,
Yeah.
is that, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Karan, Anushka, and Nehal for clearly giving us some insights, especially when you guys talked about networking. It really did, made me feel really nice that I'm going to have entire diverse people around. Even in this chat and even in this meeting, I can see a couple of people from across India, right? So I'm really, really looking forward to it. So I have this one quick question. Guys, I'm currently pursuing masters in social entrepreneurship and in Chennai. So what happens is that it's my very first year, and the second year is going to just happen the next year. And in between, I just wanted to take a break and go into YIF. And I also asked about this thing with my management, like to my college, and they're really, really happy that I'm going to be part of YIF. In the sense, if I'm getting selected, they're really okay to let me in and grab some insights and be provided that into our college. So they really, really appreciated me, and they really even ready to fund me in such a way, if at all, if it's possible. So I just wanted to know if that case is possible or if that way is possible. So I just wanted to know, guys, because this is my very question.
It's only a question of eligibility, right, Reno?
Yeah, I can't hear you, Karan. I think there's some.
Yeah, if you have an undergrad degree, you're eligible. Cool. If you
Thank
have
you.
an undergrad degree or
Yeah, I do have an undergrad degree.
Okay, perfect. Other questions, just in the spirit of
Yes.
time.
Archana? Archana, we can't hear you.
Okay, Suraj?
Suraj, you
Niladri?
look,
Okay, Nandika, I can see you, so go for it.
Hello. Oh,
Okay, Niladri. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, hello, ma'am.
okay.
Yeah.
I am Suraj.
Hi.
I am from UP. मैम थोड़ा मैं हिंदी बोल सकता हूँ?
Sure.
yeah.
या तो मैम मैं इंडिया यंग इंडिया फेलोशिप अप्लाई कर रहा था। इसमें मैं मुझे जो मेरा क्वालिफिकेशन है ग्रेजुएशन तक ही है, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन नहीं है। इसमें अदर अदर क्वालिफिकेशन मांग रहा था, तो मैंने उसे स्किप कर दिया हूँ। तो मैम उसमें कोई दिक्कत या कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो तो?
No, that's
Fine.
you just need an undergrad degree to
कोई
be
दिक्कत
eligible
नहीं।
for YIF. So
Oh.
not a problem.
तो मैं स्टडी भी अभी प्रिपेयर भी कर रहा हूँ एग्जाम एग्जाम के लिए, कंपटीशन के लिए, MSW के लिए, CUT PG या तैयारी कर रहा हूँ। तो हम एकलव्या गए थे नागपुर, एकलव्या संस्था है, तो हायर एजुकेशन के लिए वहाँ पे ट्रेनिंग दिया जाता है, पढ़ाई जो भी कोर्स के बारे में बताया
तो
जाता है।
why don't
तो
you
मुझे
आप हमें ईमेल पे लिख दीजिए, बिकॉज ये बहुत पर्सनल सवाल है, तो हम आपको अकॉर्डिंगली गाइडेंस तब दे सकते हैं। अभी हम वो
मैम
सवाल आंसर करते हैं जो बाकी सबके लिए भी थोड़ा यूजफुल होगा, जस्ट क्योंकि
ओके
हमारे पास
ओके
कम समय है।
मैम ईमेल राइट।
ईमेल
We
अनुजा,
put
if
it
you
on
could just,
chat. हम chat पे डाल
yeah,
देंगे.
just put it
Yeah.
on chat, please.
ओके थैंक यू मैम।
Nandika?
Yeah, hi. The session was great. I just have a couple of questions. I'll keep it really quick. So, will a UPSC break prima facie be disadvantages on the application as such? Because I feel like it's advantages to me and I can explain it in the interview. But will it be like prima facie disadvantages when you see my application?
It's
And
not. We
okay.
recognize like a lot of people take a break for UPSC. I hope though the intention shouldn't be to try and keep preparing while in YF because
Yeah.
it's very rigorous here.
Okay. And the importance of UG college scores in the whole admission process.
See, every college piece is like a piece of the puzzle, right? So we'll look at the full picture. Jo hai wo hai, right? Like with the scores, so just apply. Like it's not like there's a cutoff or anything. So go ahead and apply.
Thank you.
Niladri, you've had your hand up.
Yes. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks for such a lovely session. I had three questions. Firstly, do the students get alumni status after they graduate from the fellowship? One. And the second one is, uh, if someone wants to start their own entrepreneurial journey after graduation, how does Ashoka help them in this regard? And if someone wants to move towards MBA, specifically towards Indian schools like ISB, which has been longly, like for a long time associated with Ashoka, or how does this help? I mean, can we connect? I mean, in the general application process. I hope I'm able to make sense right now. Yeah.
Sure. So yes, you definitely get alumni status as long as you successfully graduate the program. Second, Ashoka has a Center for Entrepreneurship, which offers some supports. You can look that up online. What I've seen a lot of fellows do is also create a self-designed ELM program so that they can almost do a pilot of whatever venture they want to create. And potentially they find co-founders and employees in the process, and they actually do the work for 6 months, connect with mentors and so on, get that guidance and see if this is something that they want to then pursue after graduation as well. The third on ISB, there isn't like any particular program, right? Like our fellows go on to multiple postgraduate opportunities across the world in leading organizations across the world. So there isn't anything specific for ISB that I know of, but of course, like YF in itself is a program that kind of benefits really whatever it is that you want to do after.
Yeah, I had just a quick question regarding this. If there are any numbering system or marking system in this fellowship, can we mention this while applying for the masters or anywhere?
Do you mean like
That would
grades?
grades, yes, I mean grades only, yes.
Yeah, the YF does have like you do get graded on all like all the a lot of the components are graded, academic, ELM, and so on. and you do get a GPA at the end, and then you do know whether you're in the top 5% of the top 10%. So that is you can know.
Is it
I can't
considered
take
when
more
we apply for the
follow-up
masters?
questions at the
Yeah,
moment,
just
unfortunately.
that was a quick question because I think it might help everyone because you mentioned that a lot of people apply for masters after YIF.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
I
okay,
think
Ria.
I just wanted to understand, is this recognized? Yeah, it is very much recognized. Like, is the credit system or whatever we follow, is that recognized? So,
Yes.
yeah, yes. Uh,
Ria?
Hello,
Hi.
am I audible? Okay. First of all, thank you so much for this great session. I have a doubt regarding interview. Like as in website, it is mentioned that the interview will start from December onwards, right? So actually, I am having my exams too, my master's exams in December. So what if the dates of interview and my exam dates clashes? Will like Ashoka will reschedule my interview, or if I am asking for rescheduling, then will it affect my interview?
Yeah, Ria, I can quickly take that up. So basically, we will have an automated interview process where if you're shortlisted, you will get like a bunch of options to choose from, like dates and times. So since you know your exam schedule beforehand, you can just choose from the options that best suit you, right? So, yeah.
Thank you.
That's there. Yes. Do we have any more questions on the screen?
I know there are a bunch of questions on chat that we
Yeah.
haven't answered yet, so I might like really be like Rajdhani Express and quickly go through them if you guys are okay. Are there any class timings? Like it's a fully residential program, so you are committing to like just being there throughout. You have an academic calendar that is updated live. Of course, most classes happen 9 to 5, Monday to Fridays, but you might also have weekend classes, you might have evening sessions, you'll have guest sessions. So you will be busy around the clock. I got very little sleep during my YF year, so I do want to be very transparent. Do not think of this as like a small, you know, time bound kind of thing. It'll be a fully immersive kind of 1 year. Okay. What do you think prospective YF applicants often misunderstand until they actually join the fellowship? This, like, it's you have to be fully committed for the year. There are going to be a lot of classes, lots of subjects. You have to be in it for the year. You cannot do anything with it. Do not think of it as a gap year. Do not think of it as a break year while you figure out other stuff. Do not come to YF if you're confused, because then you get introduced to like 26 more subjects and you're even more confused. You have to have the ability to be able to form hypothesis from the stimulus that you're given. So please come to YF if you do have a clear hypothesis as to how you can strengthen what it is that you want to do and like connect the dots to other subjects. But you won't get like, it's unlikely that you'll get like a aha moment if you've been confused throughout before. So do have clear hypotheses. Karan, anything you want to answer on this one as well? What do people misunderstand?
I mean, that's a webinar in itself.
In itself? Okay, fair. So for exchange programs, do fellows have to pay the fee? I think there's an exchange program with Sciences which is tuition free, but you have to pay living expenses for that. And that is after the YF, right? So it's like something you do after the YF. It's not part of YF. YF will not be funding it. Um,
Yeah.
and what about language used in interviews? Again, like YF is taught in English, the submissions are in English. We try to be really inclusive of people where English is not the first language. That's the case for many of us. We completely understand, even if your schooling is not in English. There is a preparatory program and additional support offered to people who like are not as comfortable with English. But again, the program is taught in English. So I think like just come at a time where you feel like you're comfortable enough with the language to be able to make the best of it, is what I would say. While placements are not the primary outcome of the program, how do companies decide on what roles to visit the cohort for, since the cohort is extremely diverse? That's a really good question. I think Ashoka as an ecosystem, right? Like there are a lot of companies that it has strong relationships with. So they know that people are from different backgrounds, but they might still visit for roles that are more generalist in nature. Going forward, Ashoka will also have more postgraduate programs on offer. So lots of organizations will be visiting all postgrad students together potentially to offer roles. I also want to say the CDO, the Career Development Office, is really flexible. If you go and say that like, hey, like this is my list of organizations I would really love to be a part of. They're not visiting campus, but can you connect me? I think that's where YF really thrives, because you have thousands of alumni in different organizations, right? Like not every company needs to come to campus and pick you up through some streamlined process. You are encouraged to be like, take the initiative and go and approach the companies you want, and the CDO and the alumni and Karan and everyone supports you with that. Okay, what is the priority deadline? The priority deadline, basically, there are 2 rounds. Just to reiterate again, round 1, round 2. You are always encouraged to apply early. That's what the priority deadline means, is that if you apply early, we'll process your application early, you'll be interviewed earlier, right? So like, highly encouraged to apply early. To see the deadlines again, go to our website. It's all there. The FAQs are there. Is there an English language requirement? We've mentioned that. Are we given accommodation in Ashoka? Yes, you are. It is a fully residential program. So you'll be in campus. When will interviews start? I think December, January. Nehal, is that right?
Yes. So if you apply by the priority deadline, you will have your interviews in December.
The Chancellor Scholarship, you will get your decision on the Chancellor Scholarship along with your admission decision. Is that right as
Correct.
well?
Correct. Yeah.
What will be the tuition fee? I think we haven't mentioned this yet. Karan, do you want to quickly talk about the tuition?
Yeah, it's the tuition fee, because there's a minimum tuition waiver, is roughly 6 lakhs. But only say about 20% of the cohort will pay that, roughly. 80% of the 60% of the cohort this year pays no tuition. Hopefully, more of you in the next cohort will not pay any tuition. So the full fee thing, which is 8 lakhs in total, 8.5 lakhs in total, is something that maybe about 25% of the cohort will end up paying.
Absolutely. As Karan said, everyone gets a minimum amount of scholarship. And if you have financial need, you will be eligible for more need-based scholarship. If it is something that you can afford with your assets, I would definitely say it's worth the investment. Javeria, you have your hand up.
Hi. Thanks for the session. I just want to ask about the priority deadline thing that you mentioned. If we apply early, we find out the status earlier. But apart from that, like, is there any difference between like applying on priority and then the normal deadline? Is there any impact on the acceptance or how many people you take in?
No, not really. I mean, look, if it's a compelling application, it's very likely that you will make it regardless. But just speaking statistically, not in terms of how many people get in and all, but when we are starting, like right now, we have not made a single offer. So people who apply in round 1 would be the first set of offers we make. And it's not like in round 1, 50 spots are reserved, round 50 spots are reserved. It could be that we fill up about 60 to 65% of the cohort just through round 1. It could happen, as long as the application is compelling.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
unless you
Okay,
feel
apply
nervous about
early if you
what you're
can.
submitting, yeah, just apply. Yeah.
But if you
Okay.
think that
Thanks.
something you'll have like more achievements or something will happen by the second round, only then should you consider waiting. Otherwise, I would say just apply early. I also want to address a question on mental health support that's in the chat. And it's like the utmost priority for the entire university and YF in particular, right? So I do want to talk about some mental health supports. One, there's an ACWB, Ashoka Center for Wellbeing, that is available for consultation and support for all students. That is the dedicated center where you're facing any mental health challenges. You will have like professional support through them. Second, as the program team, we also have an anchor program where small groups of fellows are each mapped to a program team member. We keep checking in with you, like, and are there as your first point of support, should you ever want to talk to us or, need help with anything. Third is just, I think, as a peer group as well, right? Like you are living, breathing, eating with a cohort of 100. So there's very strong community support there. So I think those are just like some of the supports that I wanted to talk about and call out.
There's one question by Prabhu Shankar. I think it's a question which many people might resonate with, which has to do with being extroverted or being loud in some sense versus not, and how does that impact things. And I resonate with that personally as well, because I could never really speak up in class. for multiple reasons. But look, the curriculum aims to address that. Core courses are where everyone is there. Electives are where you're in groups of, say, 25 to 30 to 40 to 50 people at best. Pedagogy for each course in the curriculum varies, right? Faculty also use different ways of having fellows engage. There are a lot of group discussions, for example. Uh, Many faculty actually call on people. Many faculty stop fellows from speaking if they've already spoken once or twice. So things like that. And then, I mean, it's a longer, complicated thing, but the short answer is that through the curriculum, we aim to address that. Because there's both in-class learning and out-class learning, and every course has teaching assistants who are typically YIF alums. So you're engaging with them in smaller cohorts also, even when a core course is on. So there are multiple opportunities and even one-on-one opportunities with faculty and the teaching staff to engage and learn and so on. But Nehal and Anushka, if you'd like to add to that.
No, I think just
Point.
plus one. I will say I joined YF right out of college as well, and I wasn't used to speaking up in class or like having something to say, or I really struggled with public speaking. Like I would start shaking and all of that, and it's a journey, right? I think that's something YF really does help you a lot in, because not every Indian institution, for example, teaches us, right? Ki, oh, you don't just have to sit and listen. You also have to like form your own thoughts and talk about them and build off others, right? And that's something I learned at YF. And I will say that like when I went abroad for higher ed after that, I didn't struggle because I had had YF, right? I knew कि reading का concept क्या होता है, that you go prepared to a classroom. You go there to engage, not just to listen, or that you're like you have to have your independent thoughts and kind of be able to express them in multiple ways. So I think that's something YF helps with. And I'm a huge introvert, so like we all figure it out as well. Lots of questions. Should we
We
just
have
take the
time for
thumbs
one
up?
or two more questions. That's it,
Yeah,
right?
I think because
Suraj, Kritika?
because Suraj has already had a chance, maybe we
Okay.
can first
Kritika?
take Kritika's question and then go back to
Hi,
Suraj.
am I audible? Sorry, I got disconnected in between. I wanted to ask the question before. See, I have one question that the few courses that I've done, for instance, in EDX or Coursera, but I didn't pay the fee there, so I didn't get the certificate. So when the this column came, like you should show your credentials regarding the same. I don't have that. I'll give you one more example. For instance, I attended a lot of conferences also, or the conclaves. Like yesterday, I went to Strum one, and I've attended the PAFI as well. And I've attended but I don't have the certificate for the same. But I have the badge. Ki, oh yeah, I've attended it. I've attended the Ashoka one as well. I've requested Prachi ma'am. So she, allowed me because I really wanted to learn about it. It is related to economics and public policy. So, but I don't have the certificate for the same.
Yeah,
But I have the
Kritika,
emails or anything. So, like, how does I show in my credentials?
so basically for courses, you can just mention them in additional courses. The section, it is okay if you don't have a certificate for it, just mention the course and just mention it in the description that you did not pay a fees and sort of get a certificate in return. And for conferences, if you're mentioning them as part of your ECAs, we do understand that sometimes it's difficult. So we do also accept other attachments. If you would look at it, this could be photos, this could be email screenshots and everything, right? So just include them and that should be fine as well. Just compile them in a PDF, include them, that should be fine as well, right? Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
I think, okay, yeah, Anushka's already answered the finance question. Yes. We can just take one last question. Suraj, would you like to go ahead since we
Yeah,
don't have
मैम.
any? Yes, go ahead.
मैम, मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा था, जो इंटरव्यू होगा, इंटरव्यू इंग्लिश और हिंदी कंपलसरी है या इंग्लिश है?
I think Anushka already answered that.
Yeah, I mean, the panelists are often really flexible, and you can use a mix of English and Hindi. That said, I will still kind of reiterate that the program, the primary mode of teaching is in English, the primary mode of submissions is also English. So we would encourage a baseline level of comfort for you to be able to make the best use of English, or
ओके
best use of
मैम, टोटली हम लोग जो पढ़ाई किए हैं अपने यूपी से, यूपी में टोटली हम लोग हिंदी मीडियम से, तो उतना कंफर्टेबल इंग्लिश उतना नहीं है, तो इसके रिकॉर्डिंग मुझे कुछ
That's totally fair. I think if you do kind of make it to the program, we do offer a lot of supports. तो एक preparatory module होता है, तो जिन लोगों को English support चाहिए होता है, we do have a 2 to 3 week program for them before YF starts, and then keep offering extra support even during the duration of the year.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks all. Again, a big thank you for joining us on the weekend. We really appreciate it. Please do like go through the website for any other questions that you might have. And if it's not on the website and the brochure, then please feel free to email us as well. Follow-ups. Nehal?
Yes. Yeah. Again, thank you so much, Anushka and Karan, for being, I mean, amazing co-hosts and respondents. This was great. I would, and also thank you everybody once again for being here.